Okay, so one other question. Shoot. How can resistance be reframed as a positive force within writing program administration? I wanted to talk about this one because I think my response to the first question I looked at is really about practicing resistance. And I'm thinking, I've got my camera on a stack of WPA books with the writing program interrupted on top, and they talk in their introduction about the how we don't embrace critique as something that's potentially productive because we're often used to thinking that critique is bad, especially because WPAs often feel so thwarted by the critique of others. And I think in a lot of ways, resistance is seen as reactive only, and I don't think resistance has to be framed by people as only reactive, but maybe responsive. And I never think of resistance as necessarily a bad thing because it's a kind of reaction. I mean, it's frustrating to have students who resist what you do and people who endlessly resist what you believe and are trying to work on, but I think it can be a potentially productive stance as long as it's not like building a wall, but more like trying to figure out ways to kind of productively resist. And that might be through asking questions or trying to describe your perspective in words and terms that are more accessible to people, since words like genre even get perceived as jargon sometimes in some contexts. And I think within writing program administration, resistance for me is a way of enacting or linking to this idea of WPA as a change agent, as someone who's interested in reform. And I think that resistance and reform seem to go hand in hand and can be really productive ways to try to work towards change. But I think, of course, it's important to recognize how slow that needs to happen, and that resistance doesn't have to be what I think Donald Hall would call shrill advocacy, where you're so busy advocating for your thing in a really loud voice that you can't hear other things and listen to a more mediated position. But I think resistance on the part of WPAs is a fairly common process when it comes to retaining class sizes or, trying to get a little bit of budget money. And so I think it's another aspect of the kind of reframing that Linda Adler-Kastner talks about in Activist WPA, that resistance actually can be something we reframe as positive.